Is this thing on? Hey, okay, this thing is on. Hey everyone, it's Jesse. I'm back here again with Neil, and we got Dustin Rogers back on. We promised that we would bring Dustin back to the stream at some point. So say hello, guys.
Hey everybody.
Hey, every guys.
Every
Every guys.
guys.
Hello. Well, we're going to continue where we left off. Last week, which was or 2 weeks ago now, I guess. Boy, I still can't get this right. I said I was going to be gone this week. I'm not gone. It's just a mess. But we're going to continue this week with building the 30 card introductory deck series stuff. If you're watching episode 12, you saw us build the Synthien, Jotune, and Bertoan lists. This week, we're going to build the Xelarian lists, and then we're going to dive into playing some games with them and see how they come out. And so we'll start the development process to start tweaking and balancing these decks so that every player has a fun experience and go from there. So what do you think? You guys have any ideas or things that you think we should start looking at right away in terms of suggestions on these cards? And
Well,
what do you think of thematics for the Xelarian? I think this faction is going to be one of the harder ones to build, more
right.
difficult ones, I
The
should say.
the other three, we did kind of in order of complexity last time, where I always think Jotune are basically the easiest to build, and then the Synthien and the Bertoan have a little more going on, and the Xelarian for sure are, I think, the hardest. But
So,
these
I
three
think.
what do you
card
think,
decks are
Dustin?
very simple.
Um, I sort of agree with that in that I feel like it depends on my play style of the faction, which was easier for me to deal with. If I'm trying to build a strategy that's not inherently ingrained in the faction, then I struggle more, especially with the Jotune. They're the hardest ones to kind of do an anti-strategy with. Something that's not inherent part of their main build. They're the ones that are the hardest to tweak synergies and stuff like that with. Whereas the other ones are a little bit easier because they have the uh, toolkit that's more readily available. The Jotun do what they do very well, and so I feel like that's why they're easier to build those kind of decks. So on this type of thing, I think I agree with exactly what Neil said. That the goes up. Although I watched the stream late last time, and you guys included a Verker in the Protoan deck.
Yep.
As sort of one mercenary. You guys kind of try to put a certain mercenary card that had a certain feel with like the way that the factions work. And I felt like, I know that you guys were trying to avoid putting the quote unquote mythics in the factions, but I felt like Verker was going to play better in this faction, the one we're building now,
He would
than
most definitely play better in this faction.
also because it kind of breathes to stuff that's already established in them. And then I also think that because maybe just for consideration purposes, you flip Verker for a Crazy Joe's Explosives, just because the Breton have more going on in their sites universally than the other factions do. Yeah. So, including the mercenary site that does stuff makes about as much sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a bad assessment. I do worry, like, how degenerate would the game be if we were to say two juicers and a Verker in the Xelarian list. That could be pretty degenerate in a 30 card list for an introductory experience. That's kind of the challenge you have with this. I don't think that is degenerate in the regular game when you have access to all the cards and all the different things to counter it. But when you have the limited scope of these decks, it could be a pretty tough pill to overcome when you have two berserkers on the field. With some sort of consistency. So if we do make that change, which I think testing later, in this stream may even show, we that's that's kind of like the next level is when you start talking about those individual card changes. I do like the idea of Crazy Joe's in the Protoan. I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, we could definitely make that change, but whether or not Verker jumps in here, we'd have to definitely consider how that impacts the juicer in particular when we select that.
Yeah, it was merely a thought process to it because I felt like when I saw you guys put Verker in there, my brain just immediately went, "What about the Accelarians?"
Well,
yeah.
the idea behind the Verker and the Protoan deck was just like, I guess I felt like they needed another body. Like it at heart, you're absolutely right that like the most interesting thing about the Protoans is their sites. They have just a ton more going on than the other factions and sites, but they're at their core still like a combatant oriented faction, and they just like needed another body kind of, and due to the restriction of 2 cards of each type in the starter deck, we just like wanted another big guy.
Yeah.
And the Excelarian, obviously like the Juicer aggro deck is really good, and that was the deck that you had brought the last time you were on stream. And, I think that's a very viable archetype. I don't know if that's like the core kind of plan A that we want the starter deck to be for the Excelarian.
No. And balancing really does matter more than flavor, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think our priority goal number one for these decks when we designed 2 weeks ago and again here tonight is to make sure that the experience is fun for both players on the side, on each side. So they each have things to do. They each have kind of some exciting counterplay amongst the 4 decks, and kind of really get a flavorful feel for what constructed Sularia can be like without the need of having all the cards. So you can just kind of get a quick glimpse. And the beauty of this is by limiting everything to 2 ofs on a copy of the card and reducing it. If you are a current Solaria owner and you want to share this game with multiple people, it's easy to build multiple copies of these decks to just have at your like local game night when you go over there to play to play and introduce people to the game. So whereas like if you take the other starter decks, you kind of end up in a situation where like you can have one of each starter, but that's kind of it, right? So this gives you the ability to kind of expand the number of people that can kind of try the game out. So at least that's the goal. I'm not saying that's what we're going to achieve here. Well, we won't know until we start playing, but I can tell you this kind of process is never the first time you build a deck. It's right. Quite the opposite. It takes quite a while to get these decks figured out. So,
alrighty.
So let's get started, guys. So should we start with sites again? Do you think that's the place to start here? Do you want to start somewhere else on this faction? What do you think?
The other decks all had 2 of the Solarium generator in them, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So I think that's a good place to start. Like those are 2 slots we're going to use for sure.
So 2 secret stashes right out of the gate. Yep.
And that leads right into those sites also where we just like want to build a resource base and
right. No, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree with that too, especially when you're showing like the differences in how these decks function when you're demoing the game. Having sort of their ancillary resource management tools, at least 2 of in every faction, just makes sense because it just shows that is an option for new players.
Right. Yep. I totally agree with that. I'm just pulling the sites out right now so we can analyze them and make decisions on them based upon what they have and what they don't have. So I got to find the Oasis. I don't think there's another. Is there another 3-drop site? I don't think so. We just go right to retrofitted, right? And for those of you tuning in on the stream, if you're wondering why some of these Excelarian cards don't have art yet, that's because they're still technically in alpha till November. So we'll be unveiling some of these cards that don't have art in the next few months.
I know that I see John here. How many of these have art, John, right now, that we don't see?
Good question. I have to get back to you on that, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I am back. I am on the the stream right now, but I'm a little distracted at the moment.
I don't think we have a 6.
I'll get an answer for you though.
I don't think we have a 6. I think that's all the sites that
so.
are existent. Hey Jasper, welcome to the stream. If you like I said, Jasper's might be able to jump in with us and play it too, depending on what time we get done. I can send an invite to him on the Hangout if he decides he wants to join us. So we'll see if he wants to jump in and play. He's got to have a mic though. I told him. I don't know if he got that situation solved yet or not. So let's keep building off this. So I think the last couple of decks had like 9 sites. Does that sound right, Neil?
Yeah, 8 or 9. What do you got laid out there? 7?
Yeah, there's 9 sites in the Synthien list. Excuse me. He's still at work, so he's heading out now. So we'll see. Yeah, so there was 9 sites in total, and then we had the 2 Solarium producers. So that gave us 11 sources of Solarium in the 30 card deck, which seems about right.
Solarium Depot is like their big workhorse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think the second one of those is pretty good.
Okay.
I would be weary to put in the second Stockade. I think
I agree with that. I think
just in the starter deck experience, that's not kind of the. I have a feeling that a lot of these random removal suite cards that come from the X-Solarian are going to be one-ofs in this deck because they're not.
They're good.
Not new player friendly necessarily.
Right. Well, I think we can do 2 Oasises though.
Sure.
I think that's a fair.
I agree.
I think that they're going to need the slightly higher life total to get going against some of these other decks. I'm curious to see how fast they go in the 30 cards. And so just having that extra life resource there is really handy.
Yeah. Technically what we have right there is 9. As it's laid out right now as we speak, that's 9 sites.
I think they probably want the second scrapyard too.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a fair assessment. I don't think there's going to be enough.
If we end up cutting one of the 4s or the 5, then we end up cutting one of the 4s or the 5.
I would say we could cut Keschel, and the only reason why I say that is just because without some of the additional card draw that the faction sets up later, and unless we're really going to play on the tacky play of like, tacky being influence driven and spoiler alert for those of you that are playing alpha and see the alpha version of tacky, the omega version of tacky will be based off of influence, not solarium. So I think Keschel only really works really well there.
I guess that
like ramp tacky.
I was going to say, the question becomes, are you going to build this deck with tacky as worded or tacky as intended? Because that's going to dictate whether that site's value.
Yeah, we would be playing tacky today as Omega intended. So because the idea with this is kind of a longer term plan after the X-Solarian are out to be able to allow people to expose their friends to it. So
I'm still not sure that Keschel is like having 1 or 2 tackies in the deck and the 1 Keschel is like great.
Yeah, no,
like
I don't.
Pretty inconsistent, and like the extra +1 you get on your tacky is like kind of meh.
I mean, I'm fine with this as is, and kind of put that in the maybe pile. The only reason why I would consider it, other than that synergy, is it kind of shows new players that influence is going to be really important to this faction. So, if you're kind of also trying to introduce the mechanics of the factions to any of the new players in these sets, having a card like that kind of screams it out.
It is a very cool effect and very different than the other factions.
Very, very much so. Yeah, it is very unique and very flavorful for them. So I don't disagree with any of those above statements. I just think that I think that it's a card that's going to be harder for a new player to understand and leverage. Plus, new players tend to have some difficulty grasping that, you could put, your combatants and sites down in your influence row, and then play them from there. So whether or not that relays right away in their first demo game, or whether it turns into a situation where they go, oh well, I really want to play this guy now. Do I really have to use Keshel's ability? It could create some confusion. So we'll put it in the maybe pile. We'll see how the rest of the deck comes out, and we'll go from there. How's that sound?
Works great for me.
All right. Do you want to go look at tactics and conditions now? Not that there's a ton of conditions in the Solarian, or do we want to look at the guys first?
I think the guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because the tactics and conditions are the lifeblood of them, and so this will give us an idea of how much room we want to play with.
Sure. No, totally agree. Yeah, I'm down with it. I'm down with this plan. Let's see.
Spring on the wrong side.
Oh, good old Headhunter. So I'm just bringing out all the individual copies here for us to analyze and talk about, and what we want to do here with this faction in regards to these folks.
So while you're bringing those out, I'm gonna ask for a reminder. When you guys were putting together the other 3 factions, did you put any more than one copy of any type 1 in any of those decks?
That's a good question. I don't know. You can search those decks. You should be able to search the decks. So if you want to take a look at the bonus,
I have to change quick. I think.
Yeah, okay. You guys are promoted, so you should be able to see it.
I just can't do it as spectator.
I'm looking at Synthien right now. Let's see. One of pretty much, everything that you put in the deck, there was only one type 1, including Centroplos.
That sounds right.
There's such big threats in the decks anyway.
Yeah.
In a 30-card list, one of is almost all you would need anyway.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I think that sounds correct. So I definitely don't think we want to double up Solomon, if that's what we're leading to. And
whether or not it's that's our policy on type 1s, I don't think we want to double up on Solomon.
So far, you've only had one copy, at least of the combatants. I could scan a little bit further, but you only had one copy of each of the type 1 combatants. So I guess one Solomon then.
Yeah, I think when Solomon's smart there. I question whether or not Zed should be included in this experience or not. Obviously, it's really cool to see the bounty ability, but maybe we could put bounty on Johnny,
or even just Warden is like a fine card. Zed's a little over the top.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Zed, great card. You should figure out how to play lots of Zed in Constructed, but in this experience, I think we want to eliminate Zed from contention here.
And I agree, Warden gives you the bounty pretty easily.
Right. So for those of you watching the stream and don't know, Warden is a 2/2 for 3, but he has bounty 4, which just means that you can activate him, which is rotate him 90 degrees, and deal 4 damage to a combatant in play. And then in turn, that combatant will hit the Warden back for its attack value. So they fight, essentially. So I think we could go double Warden, though. How do you feel about that?
I think that's fine. There aren't a ton of guys that he gets really good in the other decks.
Right. Yeah.
And he's
okay. Go ahead, Dustin. No, you.
I was gonna say, if you were wanting to do bounty and we were trying to figure out what mercenary combatant we wanted to put in here, Johnny goes in there pretty well.
Yeah, Johnny goes really nicely if we decide to really double up on this idea. So, yeah, I agree.
I'm not saying put him in there. I'm just saying back in your mind. If you're
so the question is, No. I agree. Like we definitely can put Johnny. I'll pull a Johnny out for consideration. There's two mercenaries I'm considering in this deck right now, and that's these two guys. I think Harp will probably find some good value in a starter deck experience like this, and Johnny's obviously just a great card
Did we
all
end
the
up
way
with the
around.
Harp in the Synthien deck?
Yes, we
I
did.
don't remember it. Did we?
Not that
Okay,
that
so maybe
like should mean
has to
there
say.
shouldn't be one in this, but it
Yeah, we
It-
did end up with the
probably
Heart
did
in the
put one
Synthien
in
deck.
there.
Yep, we did. I just checked. So we'll I don't want to jump into the mercenary card yet for this, but I do think it's worth consideration. Cutting the Savage and the Headhunter
I think an easy add is the second Spirit Warrior.
is what?
The second Spirit Warrior, like
Okay.
that card's
Yep.
better in multiples, and like it's a very fair guy and kind of cool. And
Yeah, it's so. I mean, it's a great card just because it with multiples on the battlefield it gets stronger, and then on top of that, if it would die, it just gets a -1/-1 counter. So they're kind of sticky. They stick around for a while. Lots of good value out of that. And by the way, it's really fun to use Village with these guys, so they can't be defended. So they're just kind of non-interactable.
And the big thing for them is if you're going to do one, you might as well do two.
right,
Oh yeah, for sure.
They have like the pseudo sword claws on them, and
I
Slightly
think one
different.
juicer is fine. I don't think we want to double up juicer in this deck.
I think you can cut Headhunter and Savage. They're like
I agree.
They go together.
Fun cards. I think they are good together. But I'm with you. I think Headhunter Savage. Headhunter is a good card, but it's probably a little slow for a 30 card deck. To get set up and moving.
And if you're going to do this, like you're throwing the only card that exhausts into the mix, which for a new player may be harder to track.
Well, Centropolis exhausts. So I mean, we do have that, that effect on the opposite side.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So, not entirely unnew in terms of explaining exhaustion, but how do you feel about like a double tunnel rat here?
I think that's fine.
Okay. So for those of you that are following along, tunnel rats deals 3 damage to target combatant side or opponent. Okay, so 9, 12, 13. We got 22 cards if we leave it as is right now, which probably makes things a little light on the tactic and condition suite.
Well,
for
I
this
was just
faction.
gonna say we should try to put in some tactics and conditions before we make any more decisions on combatants, because
I'm good with maybe pile. I think I agree with. Let's see what those tactics and conditions look like.
I'm not going to bring the secret stash out because we already have it out. So let me just make copies of these really quick. Put it into my hand. All right, so we got Booby Trap, Not So Fast. We've got Dead on Arrival, Assassin Strike, Anarchy, and Distraction.
So for me, all of the like big ones, I think like are one ofs. Like they're all very powerful and like in the scope of the starter decks, like not very interactable. I don't know how many evasions we ended up on in most of the decks, but
I
it's
think we only ended up with one in many because it's a mercenary. So I think the Jotune ended up with one. I think the Proton. Nope, the Jotune have two. I checked. There's 2 evasions there.
Mind Shell.
Yeah.
I know that. I don't think they had any.
Yeah. So I think having like one of the removal suite plus like 2 booby traps and 2 not so fast is about right. Because then you get like the variety of the.
I agree with all of that.
So leave these this way then.
Yeah. Unless you like. So one consideration is if you don't want any of the anarchy cards in the starter, then we don't need an anarchy. But
Yeah, I mean, we could technically pull out anarchist and anarchy, but then I think, you know, Boomer kind of finds itself in a funky position without
right.
those
So
cards.
it seems like we should just like put in second anarchist and one anarchy and one boomer, and in a 30 card deck that should be enough combined with like Solomons and tunnel rats and booby traps or whatever that you can actually like get some value off of them. And it's like not super powerful because we're kind of light on the number of effects, but it's like we're talking about a starter deck that just wants to show people like this is going to be a thing where one game you're going to draw the boomer and the anarchy and maybe like get your opponent pretty good, but
Right.
otherwise they're just kind of like your anarchist
And I think
like going to slowly ping them down.
I think there's some nice things about replayability with this deck too, because I think a new player, the first time they see Boomer Anarchy, may not know how to leverage it as best as possible. And so because of that, I do think that you're in a position where, you know, if you play the deck again, you might see a new combo strategy with it based on a given gameplay scenario. It gives you a lot of flexibility. So, I mean, I think this is fine. I think we're long by a card right now, though.
I don't know.
Yep, 31 cards right now.
Touche.
The question I would have is if we want to slow the deck down just a smidge, we could cut the juicer out altogether and let Tacky be the threat. And you know, Spirit Warriors and Tackies.
I think I would rather cut the tacky than the.
Okay.
I don't think tacky's going to be very big in this deck.
No,
Yeah.
probably not.
Like the games are going to be quick in these starter decks, I think, and like since there's no extra thing power him up at all, then like he's going to be like a 4/4 or a 5/5 when you play him, and maybe he'll be a 6/6 at the end of the game. But
yeah, no, I think that's fine.
Time that's like meaningful.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. So for those of you watching, I think we've landed on a 30 card deck, and we did it within 30 minutes. So I think that means we can get some games in. We didn't put a mercenary in though. Do you guys want to try to fit a mercenary in here?
If I was going to put a mercenary in this deck, I would want to put an It's a Trap in this deck.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's necessary. Like if you wanted to cut the juicer, you could put a Johnny in its place. If you wanted to,
I also think this deck could benefit from a Hero's Boon.
With just the one Solomon?
Yeah, but I guess we've got Hero's Boons. The Synthien deck ended up with 3 mercenaries in it. Harp, 2 Hero's Boons, and an It's a Trap.
Yeah, the Synthien deck has multiple things to put the Hero's Boon on that are good. Yeah, and this deck does not actually just that much Solarian production.
So do we want to do a Crazy Joe here? Well, we could make the swap that Dustin was referring to and go Crazy Joe in here.
I almost like the Crazy Joe better in this deck. Just like if you're talking about putting a Crazy Joe in one of them, did we end up on a Crazy Joe in the Jotune deck? I know we talked about it in one of the other decks. I don't know if we actually put it in any of them.
2 evasion. Nope, just 2 evasions on the mercenary side for Jotune. So we could do it here.
My thing about Crazy Joe is that so far we've kept out the like complicated 4cc cards, though Joe's is less complicated than Zed or Ferdum.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like I guess I don't know. It's like a card that seems like it's not a starter deck card to me. Just like it's like a little more complicated. It's very powerful. It's
True, but we're
You're
already
talking about
working.
Crazy Joe's. Do you think it's more complicated? Jasper's voting for It's a Trap here. Jasper would put 5 It's a Traps in every deck if he could. 6, I think, is what he had in one draft event. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a preference either way. I am a little concerned with Johnny being a 4/4 quick in this deck, and just the potential for this deck to come out and really just smack some people around fairly quickly. Like, you have the opportunity on turn 2 to play Warden, and then turn 3 drop Johnny, and then you're swinging for 6, which scales into a lot of the sites very well.
And
But
Johnny,
you can do that already with Juicer.
yeah. I mean, Johnny
just gives another outlet for that. Go ahead,
Johnny
Dustin,
can,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Johnny can come down as early as turn 2 with this current build.
Potentially, that's true. Yes.
I mean, the way that this deck looks, it looks like a control deck to me more than like a turn 2 Johnny deck. Though, I mean, obviously this deck has the potential to play turn 2 Juicer or turn 2 Johnny if that's what they decide to put in. But like, it's just a bunch of pingers, right? Like, it's got Spirit Warriors and a Juicer as like its attacking threats, but everything else just kind of like hangs out. Like,
right.
You just, like, the Warden sits there, the Tunnel Rat sits there, the Anarchist sits there, the Solomon sits there. They just like they don't turn sideways to fight. They like just hang out and do what they do and control the game. And like, obviously there may be a draw where you just play a quick Juicer and you run him over, but that's I don't think this deck is going to play like an aggro deck just looking at it.
Right. Honestly, unless you're absolutely settled on putting a mercenary card in every faction, this doesn't need one.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't disagree at all. It's certainly, we can look at it objectively after some games and figure out if it's a trap is just
at this point. I would say are like the Anarchy, 1 Booby Trap, 1 like possible 1 of cuts, Booby Trap, Not So Fast, Anarchy, 1 Tunnel Rat, like maybe the Juicer. Those are like 5 cards that you could switch for something else, but like Dustin said, I think the 30 that we have laid out looks pretty good by itself, whether we add a mercenary or not.
Okay, I'm totally cool with that. So I'm gonna shove the mercenaries back into their piles. I'm gonna take the other Exilarian cards and delete them. Let's go ahead and group that up, and then we'll save that. So, all right. So those of you watching, Jasper was saying he probably wouldn't play Johnny here. So I think we're all on the same page with that one, Jasper. So let's do this. Dustin and Neil, you guys can play because we all seen Neil kick my butt plenty of times. So everybody's tired of seeing Neil kick my butt. So and you guys are already.
That's what they come to the stream for, Jesse.
Well, maybe. You mean it's not my my charming personality? I thought it was my charming personality. All right, so let's do this. I'm gonna see. Can I spawn a die? Options.
It's over there. It's still on the table.
There.
No, I want to spawn a different die. I want to spawn a D4.
Oh, you want to randomize the decks? I see.
Yep, I'm gonna randomize the decks. Here's a D4. Okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Exilarian, Jotune, Synthien, Protoan. So roll for initiative, and then that person will get to roll the dice to pick their deck.
Luckily, I'm still great at rolling these.
All right.
So. Hit R on it a couple times.
Yep.
There it goes.
8. So
Ocho,
Dustin,
more than me.
All right, so I will roll the D4, 3.
Jotune. That seems. I show a 2.
It's 2, yeah.
Yep.
You read the bottom number on the D4. It's a weird thing.
Yep.
You're right. I will take the Jotune and be happy
All right.
with it.
Neil, roll.
I was running the Jotune.
Neil doesn't get Jotune. You got to roll again.
All right, 3.
It's Jotune Synthien. Hey.
Just like we wrote it up. Get over there.
Just
D4.
like we planned. So what we're going to be looking at here objectively is how these two decks interact. So if you're watching, this is a lot of what we do in our development is spending time looking at how the decks and cards interact and whether or not both players find they have interesting choices and things to do. Since
At least you get to go first.
I will take the first. And
I do have a camera thing saved somewhere. Maybe. There it is. Yep. All right. So we're going to watch you guys.
My hand seems pretty good.
my hand seems pretty not good.
Jasper is voting on hashtag Team Neil, so you get a vote from Jasper again this week.
Jasper is a true fan.
He knows who to root for. He always roots for the winning team.
So I'm actually going to. How do I add the mulligan quickly?
So if you drag and drop or like click and drag to select all your cards in hand, and then highlight your hand over the deck, so you don't need to you can do it that way, or you can just
drop it
they
on
have to
there.
be flipped over.
Anytime you have everything selected, you get G, and the G will group them.
Yeah, group it. Yep, exactly. Perfect.
Gotcha.
And then R
Okay.
will shuffle.
Yep, I'm gonna shuffle a couple more times, and then I'm gonna draw a bunch of cards, and I'm gonna keep this one, no matter what. Right?
That's it. You gotta keep this one.
Yay! It's better.
All right, so you'll get us started here.
All right, so I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna play it there, and I'm just gonna pass.
All right. I'll play a perimeter alert system and a Solarium excavator.
Already getting that slam ramp on board. So perimeter alert
Good.
to excavator. Nice. Good start. Good start.
All right. Is it my turn?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm gonna draw a couple more cards here, and yeah,
I haven't played a Solarium excavator in a long time. He's kind of a sweet one.
I like slam excavator.
I'm gonna drop this down here, and I get to pass it again. So those, I don't know who can see what on mine, but when I said that I had a better draw, I was wrong.
Well, we're all backs when I observe, so I can't see your hand.
Gotcha.
Well,
just get a watch.
my hand is absolutely nuts, so
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely.
That's mean. That's just so mean.
That's nuts. Yeah.
good.
All right, well, let's
I only
draw
had the
some
one
cards.
master mining in the opener. I had to draw the second one like a peasant, but
Hashtag vote for one masterminding to balance.
Yeah.
Jasper votes for winners. You can check
Yep,
the
that's what he
YouTube
said.
chat.
Jasper.
Yep.
Okay, well, I do get to do something, but I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, you're just gonna run away with this. Yeah. Play this right out here. And gonna pass.
Ouch.
Making one. Yeah.
Making one.
Yep. Real quick, how do I observe a card without showing it to everybody? From my influence.
If you do
Alt.
Alt and Shift together.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. All right, cool.
So here's a prototype development base. I'm going to make 2, 4, 8 minus 1 is 7.
7 on turn 3.
This Animus. I'm going to smash both my men.
For 11.
Okay, well,
11 is a lot.
11 is a
That's
lot. So I'm gonna lose this, and I'm gonna lose 7. Sweet. All right, so let's do better, deck. That's not.
If you
better.
win this game, I will switch to hashtag Team Destiny. This had very little to do with our relative skills.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you're gonna. Oh, that's not what I want. I want that, and then that's gonna go there, and then I'm ramping at an angle. This is so weird to me.
You can also to prevent the cards from going into your hand like that, you can hit H to hide the big cards, so you'll have just a smaller hand.
Awesome. Still can't quite do it right, but I passing turn. Still can't do anything.
Okay, well, I'm going to play an It's a Trap targeting permanent system, and then I'm going to play a harp.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to attack you to death.
Oh, smash.
We don't know what Neil's doing here, everyone. So if you're watching this after the fact, Neil's just,
Oh, he's got. I won't attack you to death.
I will flip that, and I'm going to get rid of the biggest boy there. Yeah, no lucky. But I'm still going to take 6, so I'm going to lose 3.
Yep. From whence? From whence? Coming in clutch.
Yep.
It'll buy you a little bit of time.
Maybe we'll see what. Okay, that's.
I'm not that It's a Trap just for you, Jasper.
Okay, so doing that, and I'm not going to get past 1 Sularia in this game.
Can't draw the spoils.
Nope, can't draw the spoils. To the spoils go the victor, and that will not be. But I don't know. If I don't die this turn, I've got some stuff, some flavor coming.
All right. Well, I'm gonna play a Centropolis.
That was the opposite of what I wanted you to do.
Yep. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 10. All right, I'll play second ton. I'll attack you with these guys.
Yay! So
or 10 this time.
And I don't have a super awesome trick, so but I am gonna assign my 2 damage to your. Yeah, get rid of him.
I'm gonna assign my 2 damage to this Animus.
Yeah, he gets to try his thing.
I know he does. I just wanted to see if he would do it.
I mean, I don't think it has a lot of effect on the game.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Draw 2. Oh, spicy. Okay. Well, that's gonna go down here, and I'm gonna play Bergheim's.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna flip spoils. And
if there is a sequence of cards that allows you to get out of this, Bergheim plus spoils is the beginning of it.
It very
yeah.
So I'm gonna grab a Solarium counter.
I don't remember if we put second from whence in or not.
There was only one from whence. I know that.
Yeah.
So, that was good. And then, I'm gonna play a sword here.
Okay.
I'm going to. Why is it okay?
Synthien doing robot things this game.
Yep.
On the end of your turn, I'm going to Centropolis your guy.
A ruh-roh.
All right. Guess I'll flip a flares. Processing plant. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. -4 is 9er. So I guess I'll play this guy again, and then I'll crush you with all these men.
Yep, and that would be the end.
That would be it.
13, 17, 18, 19, 23.
That's
23 and a 16. So
Yep,
7
yep.
and 6 is 13. Takes you -6. But
Yay.
with an exhausted sword, there's no return fire on that one.
No. That's all right. So group those up.
Yeah, so if you highlight them all and then just hover your mouse over the deck and hit G, it'll group them all.
So nice.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's my new favorite thing is the grouping them. I had such a
held
hard
out
time
on
always
like
with the.
a few weeks with Neil to like just give him the rite of passage.
Right.
You just like to watch me suffer.
Well, you know, again, it's
Okay.
my charming personality that makes this stream worth watching. So, you know, if you're not suffering, then who's having fun watching?
I'm gonna mulligan this hand.
I am not mulliganing this hand.
All right, so
And I will take initiative too, Neil, just so you know that.
I thought that was probably the case.
Yep. I would have decided it before I saw the hand, but I wanted to
It would
cheat.
be a madman not to. So
Yeah.
I'm good to go here.
You had 7 Solarium turn 3, or was it 9? It was
On turn on turn 2, I had 6 to play the thing. So on turn 3, I had.
You had 9.
6 again because. No, sorry, I had 7 because I added 2 but subtracted 1.
That's
from
right.
the Synthien.
It's just amazing. Really good.
Yep, Master Mining is a powerful card.
That it is.
It is all you, friend.
All right, I'm going to set this down here, and I'm going to play Watchtower
On the board.
on the board. Not bad.
no Harrier to put down there.
Did we put Harriers in this deck? And by
Yeah.
we, I
I
mean
don't.
guys.
Yeah,
I thought we did. Yeah, I thought we put 2 Harriers in the deck.
I have Perimeter Alert and Pass.
Draw 2. Okay. I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to do Shipyard right here, and then flipping Mastermind or Spoils of War. My apologies. I'm going to put token.
Here.
Not the.
There, I made you one.
Thank you. That is so much easier. You have to get Solarium button. Okay, I'm going to put it there. So I'm at 4. Is that correct?
That looks correct.
So I'm going to do sword.
Okay.
And I'm going to pass turn.
Interesting.
Now that I have the lists all made, I'll this week I'll put it together the lists and allow you guys to try these out at home if you want. So Dustin's got OCD about his influence row here.
So I'm gonna play a Solarium Excavator and pass the turn.
All right. Draw 2. Round.
We definitely, I mean, part of this process is you as a community are going to help us develop these decks. So if you're watching on stream tonight, if you think there's suggestions that you can see from the gameplay that would benefit us, wow, that's a lot of slang for the Jotune. We definitely want to hear from you guys because, that's definitely part of the process.
All right.
And I'm going to Fenris. And then I'm going to spin this and at your watchtower.
Okay.
This is gonna be for 5 because of Fenris and the sword's ability. So
Yep.
Fenris is giving all of his. Oh, can't highlight it. I guess I can. Maybe I can go DM here.
I will take 3 damages.
Look at that. I can go DM here, and then I can see everything.
Huzzah.
So Neil's gonna try to get on the board here.
I'll play a prototype. I'm gonna flip a masterminding and make 5. I'll play as Animus.
So we got Animus coming to join the fray. He's a beast for the Synthien, for sure.
And then I'm gonna pass the turn.
2. Okay. Around. Okay. And I'm gonna play a Storm Citadel.
Gross.
And then I'm gonna play Oathkey.
Yep.
And Promo Oathkey, which is my preferred oath.
And Promo Fenris, yep.
And yeah, I know because Neil kept grabbing the promo version.
Yeah, Promo Animus. All right, so attacking for roughly 1 million.
9 plus 5, 14.
Yep.
Then,
I have no defenders.
okay. And this is where I would wait and go ahead and do that and put it on the sword, kind of making both cat proof. And making
so
7.
9 from the Fenris and
7 from.
Yeah. Right. Absorb 3, take 13. Going to 9er. So my draw step needs to be like Centropolis, it's a trap.
Maybe they will be.
Let's see what we can do here. I'm going to play an influence card. My influence step, I'm going to flip this flares. I'm going to play a shield generator into front row. And in my Solarium phase, I will play a Hero's Boon targeting Animus Fox.
So with Hero's Boon, Animus now makes 3 Solarium. He's a big monster mining robot.
I will make 7 Solarium. I'm going to play an Assault Synthoid. I'm going to go to my end step. I'm going to try to feed back your Oath Key for 3.
And I'm going to evade that.
Yep. Okay, go ahead.
Oh!
I guess I win.
I think you just won.
That was the best feedback I've ever played.
I know. I couldn't handle it. I just had to go bye-bye and go.
So, to do the math, did you have an Art of War?
I did not. I did
Okay,
not have an art award.
Okay, so Fenris is 9, Oathkey is 8, Sword is 5, for a total of 22, 24. You
Plus
attack
the
for
Citadel.
24. I have 9, 10, 11, 17 toughness, taking 6 and 4 is 10 and going to -1 and dying anyway. So you would have had me regardless of what happened. I did have an
Congrats.
insta trap, but you had enough guys to like. I guess if I block Fenris, but I can't block Oathkey, so I
Yeah, you
But
could have blocked.
actually get you.
If you block Fenris and you block the sword with the 2 up guys, then it's a trap is directed directly at Oathkey, right? Like that's
And
the
he
first
would go
guy that's gonna take
to
it.
with the Citadel. He would go to 6 toughness, and he would actually die, and I would actually
Oathkey would
survive.
Yeah,
But
Oathkey would die,
probably
but
dead.
Fenris and sword would kill the other 2, depending on how he distributed the other. Because there'd still be 2 damage left over on the It's a Trap that has to go to.
Well, I remember I still had the Storm Citadel.
Yeah, no, I was factoring that in.
Right.
I was factoring in the Citadel on Oathkey to protect him.
Maybe I
that's
would
true.
have survived. I find it doubtful that I would survive yet another turn after that.
Yeah, I don't know what I would have drawn, but I had another sight and another like a Cloud Falcon to play still.
So it would have been interesting. I think the back and forth on this game, the It's a Trap would have sprung the game in one direction, but the loss of 4 Solarium Neil would have made it hard on you to play a lot of extra stuff at that point.
Right. I
'cause
would
you'd
have
be
just
down.
been all in on this Assault Synthoid.
Yep, that'd be all you'd
Because
have left.
I would block Sword with Animus. He would pump the sword so it killed the Animus. My sight would take then 1 from that and 7, so it wouldn't actually kill the sight unless he pumped the Fenris and let the sword die. No, that wouldn't work either.
Well, I think even if you pump the sword, I mean, I know we're talking hypothetical here, but if you pump the sword to kill Animus, and you have to throw the excavator in front of
right,
Fenris.
you have to make the It's a Trap thing work.
Correct. So if you're going to do that, then you've got Fenris hitting for 9, leaving 2 left over. So the site would live, but you'd be down 4 Solarium because you had 2 Solarium counters.
But I'd have a Master Mining and
you'd be making 2 this turn.
A shield and an Assault Synthoid to attack with, and he would have a dead Oathkey, and I don't know. It's a Trap's a good card. But
it was, but I when I saw that feedback, I just gave up. I was done. I was like, handle this life.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're hitting the end of this. Do we want to try to do one more game?
Yeah, we can fit one more game in if you guys want. If you want to speed
play, I'll play a hyper speed game.
Okay.
For those that are watching, we're testing 30-card demo decks. So.
But I'm gonna go first this time.
Here is just seeing if these decks offer a fun introductory way to experience Battle for Solarium, and kind of go from there. So, and Dustin is mulliganing, and Neil is going turn 1 perimeter alert to Solarium Excavator. Good start for Neil.
Solarium Excavator might be a really good card in these starter decks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because there's not like a million Johnnies running around to just eat them. No.
Yeah, that's true. Johnny does like eating excavators for lunch.
This is Johnny's favorite target. Like,
and pastime. Nom Solarium.
Crunch, crunch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a paper shredder, right? Like it just you ever seen those shredding videos on YouTube where like you watch like odd things get eaten by these big shredders? That's what Johnny does to Solarium excavators. He just
gotta make my bullets somehow.
Yeah.
Gotta recycle those
Trying
excavators.
to play the right card here at a million miles an hour.
All right.
A little bit of lag.
So Neil's dropped a Projectus. That's a particularly troubling card for the mirror for this matchup, I think. Hard to deal with.
Right. I will make 4 and play this Spartan Terminator.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna attack that watchtower.
Yes, you are. I will
Go ahead.
lose 1.
Projectus is a sweet one.
Projectus is really sweet. I agree on that.
You know, in the original file in the old design, he cost 6 and like made a solarium.
Uh-huh.
It was like a
Yeah,
5/5 or something. It was weird.
And had a hidden.
Oh,
And
and
this-
he was in.
And that
And
will
he
be
was. I think he was 7 Solarium actually back
Oh,
in the day.
he was just like a giant guy, so you like wanted to attack with him more than you wanted to mess around.
Yeah, it was also back in the day when the scope of the rule was you could feint an attack, right? So you could plan your attack, and if things went sideways, you could still use his ability to save himself or a guy. So
We'll play
made it-
Centropolis.
Of course you do.
I'm gonna flip a masterminding program.
Just, rub
Make
in.
it 8. I'm gonna attack. I don't. I think I'm gonna attack with this guy too.
Okay, I'm going to flip it from Wince and get rid of your Spartan.
Okay.
Projectus just bounces off unless something happens here.
Go ahead.
Hey.
What's up? I'm gonna flip the Solarium Flares.
Roger that. While you do that, I'm going to continue to do stuff on my end. That's.
I'm gonna respond to your
Okay.
that thing. I'm gonna feedback that site you target for 4 damages and use the flare to kill it.
Yep. Well, that is...
I'm a mean man.
You're a terrible human being. That's okay. Because I'm at 2. And I get to play this guy. And I will pass.
And I will Centropolis your.
Wow.
Right. I'm just going to turn all these things face up, whether it matters or not. Masterminding, Hero's Boon. Make 10,000. 12.
Bazillion.
just shy of 10,000.
No, 13. Sorry. I always forget about Excavator. But, well. So you only have 1 from what's in the deck. And using that knowledge, I will get you here, I think. So I'm going to attack your thing.
Gonna attack my
post.
thing.
Yep, attack your security post.
And then go ahead and do what you're going to do.
Okay,
I have
and then I'm
no-
going to feedback you again on the security post.
That one's for
For
6.
6.
Fire trigger for 3.
Yep. So
no.
do 6 to it, do 3 to the sword, and then take 5 damage from the attack. Unless you have additional.
I feel like the only way I can stay in this is to flip the evasion on the sword.
Okay.
Can't let him die. A complete board wipe is not good. So 6 to that, and then another 3. So I'm gonna take 5. And
I will pass the turn.
all right. Okay. Sure, let's do it that way. And 2. Oh.
All right. Strength sword. Okay.
Yep. Although I'm pretty sure this is over very, very soon. Let me keep flipping him around because it bothers me. Got this turn.
Well, I will Centropolis your sword.
What? No. That's so sad for me. Yep.
I think I make 13 again. I'm going to play an Animus. Get Harp and flip one of these feedbacks face down.
Oh, you're going to go to feedback town again.
Attack your thinger.
Yep. No defenders.
8, 13, 15.
15 and 5. Gotcha. That's 17.
I guess I could have just killed you if I had feedbacked your site.
Yep.
Whatever. Didn't take time to do the math. We'll let you untap your sad little shield and then I'll kill you.
Hang on. Let me draw the super awesome 2 cards that will win me this game.
He went to turn 5, Jesse, with like his sad little board. I'm like, man, if he draws an Angrifner, he's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Except nobody knows what Angrifner is here in this group.
Right.
Nobody. I'm hiding from your Centropolis.
If it'll make you feel better, I won't activate Centropolis this turn.
It doesn't, because at this I played. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna run my my little. Nope, still not enough.
I'm gonna system scramble you.
And I lose and I die. Yep, and I get to put a gray hair on the board and not do.
We've learned 2 things today. Going first is very good. Actually, we didn't learn that because you went first in the first game and this happened. But also that feedback causes concessions.
Yes, feedback causes concessions. I think my first takeaway is the Synthien make a lot of Solarium. So
Excavator might be just like too good. I don't know. It's weird to say that, but like I don't think we can cut Master Mining. So like, what do you cut like Perimeter Alert? You cut Excavator?
Well, I think in a format, I mean, definitely it'll be interesting to see how the Synthians stack up against Solarian in the sense that, like, you know, Solomon and Tunnel Rat can handle the Excavator.
And Warden.
Yeah, Warden
really also likes to shoot Excavators.
So I think that like the Excelarian in particular might have a good solid matchup against the Synthien there. But I feel like probably the Jotune need the second from Whence.
I was about to.
Yeah, that game certainly made it look like they did. Because the big thing that separated the 2 teams that we just watched was like the tactic play, right? So we both kind of had games where we just like played guys a little bit ahead of curve and got way ahead. But what really put it away in games 1 and 3 was the like tactics, and what almost like would have made it a game in game 2 was the It's a Trap.
Yep.
Which I don't know what happened, but it's okay. I
think
it's been interesting to see how it played out.
I would have been interested as well. I think it was going to be a very close one and much more close than the first one and the last one. I think the second from Whence is kind of necessary at this point.
It might just be another case of like they need Art of War, so we might have to put the second Art of War in.
Well, I Art of War once that last game, but if Centropolis is continually spinning down your combatants and you can't get past 1 on the Jotune side, which is sometimes frequently a problem with Jotune builds. If you can't get past 1 Solarium, you're done. you know, having those extra tools like from Wince and allowing you to get to your higher cost sites that can take a bigger beating, like Bergheim's, allows you to kind of get back into it, and being able to remove things from the board before they get too lethal, kind of what helps them stay into a bad game, in my opinion. You know?
Yeah.
I agree. I think my takeaway of just being a third party observer tonight and watching games 2 and 3, game 1 was just like total off the rails just because of the double master on turn 2. But that situation occurring in constructed play is very good. So I can only imagine that situation is really good here. I do think that maybe double masterminding on the Synthien side in particular might be too strong because it pushes up feedback very, very high.
I would like to play a few more games because I literally had
sure.
like in 3 games I had 5 mastermindings.
Right.
So like that it makes a difference.
Right? Yeah,
whereas
it does.
I rolls twice.
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
I also on top of masterminding like 5 out of 6, I had like turn 1 site in 2 games and turn 1 site into excavator in 2 games. Like,
yeah, I think obviously more games would be necessary to make these decisions, but I think those are, when you start the talking points, you have to identify what, based on this subset of just this small subset, what are potential possible changes. But to me, like, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that From Whence needs to be put in, a second copy of From Whence needs to be put in the Jotune list, and probably a second copy of Art of War. I think that they're going to struggle up against the Protoan. I don't know what you're going to replace in the list for that. I mean, what 2 cards do you take out of the list? But my guess is that
Fire from the Sky. Fire from the Sky. Just because like it requires your flyers to get on the board to hit consistently. And I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess 6 flyers. Yeah, I'm counting 6 flyers. Although if you're hitting Bullthorn and Fire from the Sky, just go ahead and pick up your deck. I mean, that seems like a right amount for that many flyers, but I'm just saying, like, I also would consider an It's a Trap, possibly.
Yeah, I think the real fundamental issue with It's a Trap in the Jotune side is just outside of the Synthien. The Synthien matchup can just play around It's a Trap entirely.
Right. The biggest thing about it is like maybe there should be like no It's a Traps or It's a Traps in every deck, because even like last Nationals in the Jotune deck that I played, like I was playing It's a Traps just because it was like the best comeback mechanic. And like we saw in the games we just played, like the 3 games all were very one-sided, like resource denial games. But the only game that was almost a game is the one where I had an It's a Trap, and that's kind of the nature of like the Battle Begins meta almost. But it
there's one faction that doesn't need It's a Traps, would probably be the Exol, because they very much can play around the It's a Traps with the not so fasts. So
yeah, I think like my takeaway, couple of takeaways, just from tonight, and I don't want to spend too much more time on it because we're already over time here tonight. But my takeaways are just that without It's a Traps, how many introductory experience games are just going to be about who came out of the chute fastest, versus like if It's a Trap exists in some of the decks, can the board state stabilize and create an element of back and forth between the players. And that's my only real takeaway from it. Maybe the Jotune need It's a Trap in this matchup, particularly when the robots start doing some heavy lifting, versus like I think the Protoan would feel a lot of pain with It's a Trap in this matchup, Protoan Jotune. Obviously, we can't make these decisions yet because we don't have enough data in all of the matchups, right? So we'd have to play some number more games of each one of these matchups, at least to get a good trending pattern as to which side is favored and not favored. Obviously, it went 2-1 tonight, but maybe next week the Jotune go 2-1 themselves or 3-0, and next thing you know, you've got data that shows 3-3, and maybe there's no changes really needed. But more importantly to me, like on the outside looking in, watching it, is trying to eliminate that, okay, I'm opening up with a Hecaton Warhulk on turn 3, or I'm opening up with an Assault Synthoid on turn 3, or I'm opening up with a Fenris on turn 3. Like, those are the kinds of blowout explosive plays that we don't necessarily want to see in the starter decks. I mean, that's like not in the starter, because this is beyond starter, but like in like an introductory deck. I mean, those things are fun, but they create a negative play
Well,
experience for most of the others.
so my biggest thing regarding that is that I would rather have that than like the alternative where the blowouts come from somebody not being able to play cards. And so like when you have blowouts from playing cards, it's like a better experience than like, oh, I blew Dustin out because he like didn't have a spoils or whatever, and he played his first sight on turn 3, and just like he just has a handful of cards and a row full of cards that he can't deploy, and you just have done 0 things in the game. Whereas, if you have these fast blowout wins, the best world is where neither of those things happen. But if I had to choose one, I would pick the fast blowouts, because then at least like you feel like you're playing cards, like you're spending your resources and doing things instead of like just stuck on nothing.
Yeah, I agree with that, without a doubt, and I think that we'll have to sit back and maybe create a scope of like what is the major goal there, and when we get to that goal, then we can determine like how we're going to design the decks to that goal. Now, like, we set out on a goal to build a 30 card deck and create an experience for learning how to play Sularia quickly. I think we've done that. Now the question obviously has to come in the scope of how to balance that experience so that players have a good experience. And like we've said right out of the gate with this, we didn't design Battle for Solaria to be balanced with 30 card decks. So, you cut the deck in half, you increase consistency, especially with the draw 2 mechanism. I mean, you guys were down to, you'd drawn 2/3 of your deck by the end of every game, essentially, because you went to turn 5, turn 6. So when you go to turn 5, turn 6, you're talking turn 5, you've drawn 8 cards plus the 7, so you've drawn 15 of the 30, which is half. And turn 6, you're at 13 of the 30, which is almost 2/3. So, it's going to play a lot different than a normal 60 card deck with draw 2 mechanisms. But I don't want to teach draw 1 in this scenario. So, yeah, I think the main goal, I do err on your side here, Neil, and I'm not saying Dustin was opposed, because I didn't mean that to sound like that, but I do vote on the side of like, I'd rather have people have something to do every turn than to feel like, because I didn't have Solarium resources, that they just kind of sat through the whole experience, even if it is only a 10-minute or 15-minute experience. So
the only thing I would say is that we just saw the Synthien and Jotune matchups here. We need to see what the other matchups do, because maybe that was just those types of matches and stuff like that. They just kind of tell you, well, that faction runs against that, like that.
Yeah. There's very much a possibility that you've got a checks and balances in place here where, it's a rock paper scissors scenario. So, and maybe Lizard Spock as well. But yeah, I mean, there's no doubt there's got to be a lot more data collected before any changes could be made. But just off the cuff, 3 games watched reaction. I do think From Whence, an anti-control card, or kind of a tempo card like From Whence, is probably going to be needed, I think, for at least the Synthien and Protoan matchups.
Well, we'll find out in 2 weeks.
Yep. That's right.
While we were
Yep.
talking, I real quick went and looked at the Excel faction, and they're actually only at 40 points.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I really, it's really funny when I do that. Like I talked about it 2 weeks ago on stream. You end up in a situation where you build these smaller decks, like 40 card decks in draft or 30 card decks. And the way it works out in a lot of scenarios, you're very close to the same ratio of construction costs to the regular 60/90, which I always think is interesting. It doesn't ever hit it right on the head, but it's close. It's always close. Sometimes it's over, sometimes it's less, but you know, we'll see.
I think the curve of all of these that we built, we being you guys mostly, and I helped a little, we were right at 45 between the 4 factions if you averaged them all out. So,
yep, totally agree. Well, Dustin, I want to thank you for joining us on stream tonight. I would definitely like to have you back. Yeah, you got to play this time instead of just watching your deck get played. We will be back in a couple of weeks, and we will be doing more testing of the welcome decks. In the meantime, if you have suggestions on these decks after watching this stream, let us know. You know, come over to our Facebook community, start a post talking about it, or you know, make a comment here on YouTube. If you like this content, we'd love for you to hit the thumbs up. It tells us we're doing a good job. Obviously, a subscription to the channel is absolutely awesome. We can't thank you enough for anybody that subscribes. And Neil and I will be back in a couple of weeks, and who knows, maybe we'll bring another guest in. Until
real
then,
quick, are you going to add the deck lists of these that we built into maybe the comments or something of this, so that people can build them at home and see what they make of them as well?
Yep, I can definitely do that. So I will make sure that they're up in the next couple of days.
We'll get them on the comments of this video and on the Facebook community.
Yep. I'll put them. I'll put all of them up there, available to download. They'll just be in a plain text file, and you guys can make them as you see fit and try them out. And if you want to make some modifications and you have better experiences with those modifications, let us know. You know, and we'll take all that feedback into consideration for helping craft this. That's what development's all about. So. All right. So until next time, I'm Jesse, and I'm here with Dustin and Neil, and we will see you all in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.